What's up, guys? Main man Sui here, hoping you're all doing awesome as always, and welcome to another tier list by me. God, how many have I made? 19,000 tier lists on all kinds of different topics in Tekken 7. But this one's going to be real special because it's going to be my final Tekken 7 balance list. The game's kind of over now, you know. Tekken 7's been with us for 5 years now, and that's as long as we played Tag 2. Tekken 8 has not been announced yet, but we know that Tekken 7 is at the end of its life cycle because they've stopped updating it. They even removed the anti-piracy protection. So that means that, yeah, we've seen the last balance patch for Tekken 7. They left it at a pretty unfortunate state, in my opinion. I would have loved another one just to fix the... If you look at the uppest most bracket there, top tier, there's a lot of problematic characters in that chunk of the list, and I'm going to get into detail on them. But I would have loved a final patch. We didn't get it, but yeah, make no mistake, this is still the most balanced Tekken 7 ever. Tekken 7 most balanced Tekken ever. We've never had a more balanced game. And a lot of people like to say, oh, you know, there are so many overtuned characters in Season 4. Season 2 did it better. And it's really the definition of like rose-tainted glasses, you know. The old man saying everything was better back in the old days. And it's like Season 2 overtuned characters. Like Jin Season 2, Geese Season 2, Akuma Season 2, Steve Season 2, where Steve Season 2, I mean, it's like the game was a joke. And Kazumi Season 2. So yes, we have overtuned characters in Season 4, but still the best Tekken in terms of balancing we've ever had. Hopefully Tekken 8 is great. So I'm going to get into this. The way I've decided to... I'm quite happy with this list, but again, this is my opinion and my opinion alone. And I'm going to try and explain every decision I've made here in pretty decent detail. I hope someone can be very kind. Someone in the comment section to maybe give us all of the timestamps and I can pin that comment. Hopefully someone has that motivation. Thank you very much in advance. And I'm also going to mention straight up if there's a character here, and there are quite a few of them, where my knowledge is certainly not 100%. It's quite low. Like, for example, Lucky Chloe. I'll try and give it by my all, but again, apologize in advance if I don't have a lot to say, should that be your main. But I will do my best. But I will point out if I lack in knowledge. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my little cursor here, my mouse, on the character I'm talking about. So if you're scrolling the video, you'll know where I am and the upcoming character, right? So I'm going to take them one at a time. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with Fahkumram. In my opinion, top one. A lot of the balancing in Tekken 7 seems to be around difficulty. Like, if a character is super difficult to use, he should be super strong. A lot of people disagree with that balancing philosophy, and I'm a bit like, Tekken's always had execution, and I find that to be interesting. And yeah, if you have super high skill, execution skill, you should get rewarded for it. I know a lot of people disagree, but I find it interesting. But anyway, Fahkumram is special here because a lot of the characters at the top there do require a bit of execution, and he requires none of it. He's the very definition of a modern Tekken character. This is a trend that started with Tekken 6, where they suddenly put in Miguel, Bob, Lars, Alisa, Leo. This was very different to games prior, like Tekken 5, where characters were still very unique. If you look back at old games, characters would really have their own identity, and their abilities and movesets would go all over the place with very defined strengths and weaknesses. But Tekken 6 really started this modern character of like, we have a blueprint for a Tekken character now. They should have all of this. It's like a generic package of assets, and they seem to be copy-pasting a lot. It's a bit lazy these days when they make characters. And Fahkumram takes that to the extreme. He's super all-around. He has very strong movement. They removed the strong sidestep, but his backdash is still like godlike. And his reach, like jab, standing free, down forward 1. I don't know, it's like twice the reach of your average character. And some of the most insane mix-ups in the game. Like down forward 1 or standing free going into a tornado, a vortex of mix-ups with like 5 different options where you can only take a guess. And his guard break stuff is insanely cheap in my opinion. His punishment is extremely strong. His damage is extremely high. Great counter hits. The character doesn't really have any problems outside of a very weak sidestep. Incredibly reliable. #1 pick for a lot of tier Horde tournament players. I think Fahkumram earns his #1 spot. And after that, we have Akuma, who you could argue is easily #1 as well. Breaks every single rule in the game. Has a 50-50. When we talk about 50-50s, we like to talk about, you know, Devil Jin and Kazuya. Now imagine a 50-50 where the mid, it's unseeable, the mid launches, the low launches, and the low, should you block it, Akuma is +7. So it's a little bit like, oh, okay, imagine a launching Hell Sweep that's +7 on block. And now imagine the mid option, that's Akuma's while standing 2. On block, it's special cancelable into any special move. Demon Flip, Hadouken, so it's like you have no idea how to punish, you have to react so quickly. With walls, he turns into, it's like flat out overpowered. So what tournament players do is, if they're going up against Akuma, as soon as they have the ability to pick the stage, infinite stage, immediately. You can't play against that character with walls. Anytime he launches you, great wall travel, but that's like any character in this game these days. Takes you to the wall, does his wall combo, and now it's like, okay, if you tech roll, he can flat out kill you immediately with a tech trap. And again, his punishment, he'll launch you from a jab. His jump alone can set up ridiculous stuff. He has pretty damn good poking, you know, at forward 3. His down 4 knockdown low is a very strong low. A lot of people underestimate that low, but if you space it properly, it's crazy. His damage, I don't even have to mention this stuff. You've seen Akuma's damage. So, yeah, no, you could argue he's the best in the game. I'd probably put him at top 1 if it wasn't for the execution. He has some of the highest execution in the game, and that holds him back quite a bit in terms of consistency. But make no mistake, unbelievably strong. And the next character I will be talking about is Geese Howard. Another 2D character. I also put him very, very high. He's more of a mix of a 2D. If Akuma and Eliza are very 2D, Geese Howard is more of a mix of a straight up, you know, fundamental Tekken character and a 2D character. But yeah, the damage is absolutely absurd. The pressure is absurd. He has much stronger fundamental tools than Akuma in terms of like generic poking. His jab is very strong, long reach. He's a large man. It's special cancelable. He also has strings. His generic like 1-2, high mid from his jab, super strong. His down forward 1 is super strong. He has great low pokes in down 2. Sidestep 3 is one of the best low pokes in the game. It's only -12, but it's a counter hit launcher. Big plus frames on normal hit. Great counter hit utility with down forward 2, standing 4, down 4, while standing 1. Underrated move on Geese. His specials are great. He has the Reppuken. And just like Akuma, obscene damage. Back 3-2 is a great move. He also has a jump. His sidestep is very strong, setting up his standing 2 on whiff. Yeah, no, Geese Howard is unbelievably strong. And I thought he was going to be nerfed more before the end of Tekken 7. So next character is Julia. Julia is a character that would have been nerfed more had she been more on the community radar. I think the developers have been very sensitive and aware, you know, on Twitter, like what characters are complained about, we nerf those. But Julia, I think people didn't complain enough about. I guess not enough people played her. But yes, she remains quite OP. It's hard to describe how insane her neutral is. So that's when no one has an advantage. You and your opponent are just standing looking at each other. Here she has insane options like her Party Crasher, her forward 1 that has a follow-up, forward 1-4. One of the best moves in the game, for sure. Forward 1+2. That's her 13 frame safe wall bounce with insane reach and tracking. Her war drums. There's just too many moves to mention. So in short, she's just a full package of completely busted moves. And her damage and wall travel. She has one of the hardest hitting wall combos in the game. Her wall travel is almost infinite. She has amazing launchers. Yeah, it's a shame that people don't play her more. She really is an incredible character. On her 50-50, for some reason, her bow and arrow, that's her full crouch hell sweep that she mixes up with great mids. For some reason, that has unbelievable reach tracking, and she gets a mix-up afterwards. And at the wall, she gets a guaranteed forward free. But Julia is kind of busted. And amazing whiff punish with down for 2-1. But really an endless amount of godlike attacks. And next up is Lidia, who continues the original modern Tekken characters and DLC of being extremely strong, extremely all-round, not lacking in anything, and has the highest damage out of the DLC characters. Not from a hop kick, but from many other launchers, like her free 2, you know, with the blue spark. Or many counter hit launchers, she'll pick you up with the stance 2 option, but the down forward 4-4 kick. So that's the kick that looks like Bryan's Mach kick, forward 4. Ridiculous damage, ridiculous neutral, incredibly safe. Recovers unbelievably fast from free 2. And in the neutral, it's a bit like Julia's forward 1. Lidia has a forward 2. You've probably seen it, where she dashes in incredibly fast and long reach. Does she dash in with an elbow? Or is it a palm hit? I think it's an elbow. But that move is -2 on block. So it's basically neutral on block. And if she hits, she gets a massive advantage into stance mix-ups. If you sidestep that move, she's pretty weak to sidewalk left. You try to sidestep that, it's very hard to whiff punish because she recovers almost immediately. And very safe with a down for 2, but counter hits into stance mix-ups. She has an almost broken string in the neutral called Political Storm, where if you try to sidewalk her to the left, she can do the first 2 hits of that string. Safe on block, tracks quite well to both sides, insane reach. And a hit confirm, if it hits, she'll add 3 more hits for like 45 or almost 50 damage. Her hell sweep does insane damage, needs clean hit range. She has crazy mids to mix that up with. Her keep out is pretty damn good with sidestep 4. Wall splatting, throw, unbelievable mix-ups from stance, has a guard break from stance, has actually quite useful strings, more so than others. It's like her combo, the Blue Spark combo ending string, you know, back 3, down forward, forward 1+2. It's actually quite good in the neutral. And her parries. Extremely good parries, where you have really strong flowcharts to set them up. Yeah. Chances are you know how strong this character is. A strong low pokes, down back 2, down back 4. Yeah, extremely all-around, extremely strong mix-ups, extremely hard hitting. Yeah, very strong. And the character I'm going to talk about after that is Devil Jin. Devil Jin is a character that is always godlike. They sort of fixed him in Season 3. They made it so that up forward 4 had no guaranteed follow-up. You did not get a guaranteed back 4, and the character was in a much better place, in my opinion. It was balanced, I thought. So then comes Season 4, and suddenly, you know, Electric recovers faster on whiff. Up forward 4 yet again gives a guaranteed back 4. Down back 2, his low poke. On counter it, knocks down into a guaranteed back 4 or laser. And his back 2-1 on the wall is 100% consistent now for 27 damage. And when a typical wall combo in this game does 20... That's Kazuya's, for example. Dragunov's does 17 to 18. It's just overpowered. Like, objectively overpowered. If you're gonna play a Mishima in this game and win, you will not play Kazuya, you'll certainly not play Heihachi, you'll play Devil Jin. Like, if your incentive is like, you know what, character loyalty, I can set that aside a bit. I'm just loyal to Mishimas. As long as I play a Mishima, I'm happy, but I do want to win a lot. You will play Devil Jin. Launching Hell Sweep, and we also in Season 4 gave him the +4 leave them standing Hell Sweep, or rather in a crouch. Yeah. Devil Jin has every tool you need. Super all round. His up 4 even is very strong. That should stagger on block, in my opinion. But yeah, the sheer power of a 50-50, having that strong of a jab, his down forward 1, his damage is overtuned. Devil Jin is super strong, but sure, it's hard work to play him. And the next character is going to be Jin. And I feel like certain people would say here that I've put Jin too high, and I completely disagree. Jin is almost perfect, and I feel that his tournament presence, like the last year or two, certainly demonstrate how capable he still is. The character is very hard to play, very high execution, but he still always performs well in tournaments. And this is because of how all-round his package is. It's even more all-round than Devil Jin's. He has more poking, more strings, more mix-ups. His parry is, in my opinion, broken. It's the best parry in the game, where, sorry about that, where depending on the move you parry, you can get a 2-4 into knockdown wall splat, or you can just launch them with can-can. So again, it depends on what move you parry. But also, if you fuck up the timing on the parry, he can block. The parry has an auto block, right? Not for all of the frames, but damn near all of them. His counter hit utility is some of the best, with forward 4, down back 4, standing 4, down forward 2, while standing 3. Yeah, geez, I mean, how much counter hit stuff does he have? It's some of the best. Forward 4 alone is, in my opinion, one of the best moves in the game. And his punishment is extremely strong. He has a very strong 50-50. He has an electric. I feel like the only drawback to Jin is some problems with reach. And especially like in his punishment, the 12 frame can hurt a lot, like the 1+2 there. Very often you're gonna have to do forward 3 for the 12 frame punish because that has reach, but it doesn't give a lot. But Jin is an unbelievably strong character. And after that, we're going to have Leroy Smith. Leroy, I'm not going to go into the boring speech again of a modern Tekken character, but yeah, but this is Leroy. Super all-round, has absolutely everything. Has for some reason a homing hell sweep, but they all do. His one is super fast though, and with great reach. Can mix that with back 4. Like infinite reach mid. His pressure due to this is absolutely insane because you feel like you can never step the character because of that homing hell sweep and his sheer tracking. And the pressure is absolutely insane. Down forward 1 pressure, 6 string pressure. Immediately it comes to mind, is it forward 3, 2, 4? I think it is the string that goes into Hermit. He has a Hwoarang style down 3-4, so that's a down 3-2 that you've been hit by 1,000 times. Gives like, what? Is it plus 14? 13 or 14. Into Hermit mix-ups. His parries, he has multiple of them, are unbelievably strong. His damage is very high, especially with a wall involved when he does his Hermit orbital forward 4 into ground pound. Amazing counter hits. He has a Pimp Cane, so that's an extra rage drive he can throw at any time for 35 damage. It's homing, insane reach mid, crazy orbital, it has great reach. Yeah. I don't want to discuss Leroy too much because the character has been discussed to death. But it's fair to say that after 70 individual nerfs, he still remains pretty much a god and very easy to play. I should mention the 12 frame counter hit launching mid back 1+2, one of the best moves in the game. And after that, it's still in the top tier. I have Steve Fox. This could be controversial due to him losing the homing property of down forward 2. You'll hear a lot of top players like Ni, Hiram Malik, absolute Steve gods. You'll hear a lot of them say, you know, Steve is dead, Steve is unplayable now. It hurts mentally to play Steve against strong players because the lack of that down forward 2, and he's just so weak now. In my opinion, no. To be honest, the general idea behind his design and concept will always make him top tier, in my opinion, because Steve is designed around the formula. God, I can barely talk today. The formula of low risk, high reward. So he has the best counter hit utility in the game, arguably, while remaining completely safe. Right, so that's back 1, down forward 2. Even now, you can be a bit afraid of stepping down forward 2 due to it canceling so fast into other stuff. But it keeps it extremely safe while pressuring you or falling back and doing back 1, for example, to try and counter it clock you when you're coming in. His sheer amount of options is staggering. Defensive as well as offensive. The amount of stances he has, peekaboo and flicker. And again, the 3 button and 4 button go into different stances, like duck, sway, step. The sheer amount of options alone is just staggering. He has insane damage. Some of the best counter utility in the game. I think it's up to him Lee, Bryan, Paul, arguably the best counter hits. But Steve probably the best. And his safety makes him a tournament player favorite. And that people tend to be a bit stressed when playing in tournaments. A stressed person presses more buttons. Steve cashes in on that. But in my opinion, for sure, one of the absolute strongest characters in the game. And that nerf to down for 2 doesn't hurt him that much, in my opinion, due to the amount of tracking in his generic toolset. And his jab and the 1-2-1, one of the best moves in the game. And one of the highest damage wall combos in the game, 27 damage if you get the machine gun punches. Yeah, he has a guard break. He has a decent 50-50. His wall pressure is some of the best in the game. Yeah, Steve remains an absolute force, in my opinion. And then we have Kunimitsu, a character I underestimated for quite long. But then, having seen her, she's so popular in tournaments the last year. And it's so easy to see why. Darts around the screen like no other character. Unbelievably strong movement. Backdash and sidestep. It's overtuned. It reminds you of Tekken 5 movement or Zafina movement. Overtuned. Strong generic tools. Yeah, just I gotta stress that, like, controls the space so well. That type of movement, and then closing the gap can throw a kunai that for some reason is completely safe, doesn't commit to anything if it whiffs. And that means she can use it for completely free bullshit setups. I don't know how many moves she has where she knocks you down, and then you stand up with your back towards her, and here she gets a free kunai backstab. If you stand up, she gets that. And if it whiffs, you stay on the ground, can't do shit. But it is minus 12 on block. So that's in the neutral if you block it. But she can close the gap immediately with her set. She presses forward 3. And here she can do set 2, safe counter it mid launcher. That's insanely strong. She can slide. She can do set into cancel, into crouch, where she now has safe options. She has mid launcher. She has a sweep. But for some reason, from crouch has like, it feels like infinite reach. Knocks down into forward 2. Some of the craziest mix-ups in the game, from stances, strings, unblockables that are absolute bullshit. Her power crush is the single best power crush in the game. It has every single property you could ever ask for baked into one attack, and a power crush at that. Yeah, the character is batshit crazy, and I underestimated her for the longest time. Oh, and like infinite wall travel. Yeah. Oh, and that movement with her down for 2. That's a long reach down for 2. It's like, yeah, she's super strong. And then the first character, so that was the top 10. That is the top tier. So top 10 I refer to as top tier, and after that we have the high tier. And here we have Feng Wei, who I almost put in top tier. Well, I mean, this is my take on this. I know a lot of people will put him in the top 10. And he is damn near perfect. Yes, like what? How do you even begin to describe this character? I made a YouTube video on him not long ago. So I don't know. Defensive options. Back one. 10 frame counter hit. That on counter hit knocks them down into Iron Fortress is what it's called, right? His back one to shoulder. That does like what? 50 damage. Get away from me. And then he has back forward 1. One of the best backsway moves in the game. Super fast. Goes back a shit ton. And then you have Kempo step, but I don't even have to talk about, I think. You know, he backs away, and now he can do a 2 into shoulder. He can do a jump kick, a hop kick to launch you. The Kempo step combined with a backdash covers a shit ton of ground. For some reason, the Kempo, if he doesn't press, has a block. And I'm sitting there like, well, shouldn't he at least commit to something that we can punish? For some reason, no. Again, defensive option. He can press up for 2 to immediately sidestep a shit ton and do a mid check. But on counter, it knocks down. This is completely safe. For some reason. It's -10, but with a ton of pushback. He can sidestep you. Should he want? He has a lot of high crush stuff as well. Like his down to. You can. Should he want to, he can try and sidestep you when you're coming in, and he can do a sidestep 4 that immediately evades like a lot of highs. It's a launching sweep. He has a super strong 50-50 with down forward 3 and that sidestep 4. He has the best lows in the game as a kit, I think. Pound for pound, when you combine them all, I think he has the best lows in the game. He has great mid pokes as well. He has great counter hit utility. They buffed his combo damage, so his combos hurt a shit ton now. If you happen to play one of these characters, like more buff males, his wall combo does what? 33 damage? Forward 3 into a guaranteed shoulder. Yeah. His season 4 buff to down back 3 into that, whirlwind breakdance. And his parries, my god, his parries. Again, talking about defensive options, like his punch parry. -12 on block. And it's a launching punch parry. His wall bounce down for 2-2. Safe, for some reason. And it's not even bad on block, it's like -6. What are his weaknesses apart from... If someone's standing a few steps away from him, now he can have some trouble with tracking, but yeah. Yeah, pretty fucking perfect. And his combos are not the best, that should be mentioned. But yeah, Feng Wei is a crazy force, he is. God, my sensitivity is so high on the mouse. Really good for DBD. So here we have a Zafina, and Zafina is a character I would have put higher. Would it have been like maybe 2 years ago? But this is still like really high, and you gotta remember this game is very, very balanced. So a character being, for example, low tier is not that much of a problem, really. The game is very balanced. But Zafina has completely overtuned movement. She moves like a Tekken 5 character. So she has an incredible sidestep, incredible backdash. Well, I think she has the best movement in the game. I think Lili has a stronger sidestep, but that's about it. And then she has really good neutral tools, great down forward 1 into mix-ups. It's a great string, down forward 1-2-1. She has forward 4, great knockdown, long reach mid, homing. She has good low pokes. Down 3 is a low poke with great crushing. I mean, her evasion, like built-in defense into the toolkit, absolutely insane. And down 3 is a pretty overtuned low, where she immediately has a shit ton of crushing. It's got great reach. -30 in the low on block, and it launches on counter hit. How is that fair? And the movement combined with her long range mid. Of course, launching down for 2, you know, mid. That alone is super good. Her damage is very high. Her mix-ups are absolutely crazy. And it has to be mentioned that she also gets a lot of strength out of the fact that she's one of the least played characters in the game. I think she is bottom 2. It's her and Ganryu and Kuma, bottom 2 free. So a lot of people just don't know the matchup. And that even applies in tournament level of play. I get reminded of this constantly. It's like when Arslan Ash played Zafina at the We Play tournament in the Ukraine, and he's hitting Snake Edge. He is legit doing her Snake Edge on people. Because people just don't know the animation and the matchup. And we see examples of this constantly, like Rangchu. Hey, how about Kuma? And everyone's like, oh, Kuma? Oh, come on, no one plays Kuma. And you can see how many holes there are in people's knowledge on Kuma. And Akuma, everyone thought it was mid-tier. Latest example of this is Kaiser with Lucky Chloe in the US. I don't remember what tournament exactly it was, but surprising everyone. And oh my god, the backswing blow is really good. And I think that this adds to Zafina's strength. Like very awkward animations and a matchup people don't get to see too often. But incredible tools, but the movement alone just puts her so high. And then we have Li Chaolan. And this is a character I wanted to put in the top 10, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, nah, it shouldn't be in the top 10. There's too much work involved, and the characters I've put in the top 10, I feel earned those spots more than Mr. Chaolan. But Li is absolutely incredible. And again, it has to be mentioned, he's one of the most demanding characters in the game in terms of execution. But holy hell. So he's one of the gods when it comes to counter hitting and keep out. Arguably the best keep out in the game. Well, I would say it probably is the best. Back 4, down for 2, magic 4, etc. And then his counter hit utility, yeah, where do you even start? One of the best in the game. I'd put him in the top 4 there. And then we add to that a pretty perfect character. Very high damage, very high wall travel, crazy wall combo, crazy wall pressure. His punishment. I mean, arguably the best 10-frame punisher in the game. Acid Rain. Acid Storm is insane 15-frame reach punisher. 4-2-1 is an insane 14-frame. His down for 1 beats a lot of jabs. His 50-50 is very strong. Get some pretty fucking good comeback utility with that 50-50 and rage, you know, while stunning 2-free. Into what, 100 damage? His magic 4 alone is one of the best moves in the game, if you ask me. But yeah, as a whole, I believe Li to be, yeah, one of the best in the game. And he certainly earns his spot on this tier list. And then we have Marduk, who also is a character I've talked a lot about. And this is, I think, it is the first character here that has very defined strengths and very defined weaknesses. Every other character here above him and after him, except for Kazuya. Kazuya is the other example of this. It's a character with a very defined identity, and they're not all round. So they really excel at something, and they are quite lackluster. So what's the lackluster part about Marduk? It's a bit sluggish to get going. The moves are not very fast. A lot of his key moves are like -8, -9. So he tends to give up his turn a lot. Not the best panic stuff in the game. He has a parry, knockdown, power crush. Down 4 is a panic move, but not the best panic stuff in the game. So he can get quite easily, you know, bullied by people. And no real down for 1, like mid check for pressure. So the poking really isn't there compared to a lot of strong characters. How is this balanced? Well, it's balanced in that his strengths, like his damage and his Okizeme, is broken. Broken is the best word I can use here. It's not 10 out of 10, it's 12 out of 10. Marduk's Okizeme, and when he gets going, and again, the damage is broken. This is the character where, okay, oh, you're bullying me. Oh god, I give up my turn. Oh, I'm getting pressured. Oh, I ate that mix-up. Fuck, oh, I made 5 mistakes. I'm down. Oh, I'm in rage. I have no health left. You make 1 mistake. Dead. You died. You whiffed 1 attack, so I did my long range downward 1. Almost busted attack, by the way, his downward 1. And now I combo you, and I have access to the best rage drive in the game, but for some reason does the damage it does. If he gets the mix-up, it does half life. Always gives +7 on block into a dumb mix-up. Tracks like crazy. Yeah, it's like, he has his weaknesses, but everything else, it's like, it's so overtuned. And if you don't have throw breaks, the throws are batshit crazy. But yeah, don't get counter-hit by Marduk. And the best Okizeme in the game. I think it's not even close. I mean, after him, you'll have King Xiaoyu, Kazuya. But yeah, Marduk is overtuned in damage and Oki and some tools he has. Like his downward 1. Tracking, super long reach, mid launcher, -13 on block, 15 frames fast. And they gave him an amazing 12 frame while standing and standing punish in upward 1 too. Marduk is unbelievably strong. And after Marduk, I've put Paul. I think this is a character some people would want to put in the top 10. And in older tier lists, I would put him in the top 10. But I think, I don't know, it's like he is a bit... I mean, he's super strong. And this is what this... I've put him in now, what? This is top 15. Top 15 is incredibly strong. I just think his lack of poking holds him back quite a bit. Yeah, but other than that, one of the best counter-hit characters in the game. He's in the top 4. I mean, it's basically about Lee, Paul, Bryan, Jin, a few others we could mention. Extremely strong defensive tools. Down for 2 is kind of broken. As a complete throw game, ultimate tackle is also strong. Incredible homing moves and space control due to reach. And yeah, very strong homing moves. His lows are good. His damage is very good. Even though his damage is a bit overrated at times, because people tend to judge his damage from a counter hit, quarter circle back 4 into like rage art cancel. But most of the time he'll launch you with like down for 2 or a hop kick, and the damage actually isn't that high. But if he does get a wall, his wall combo does 23, I think. I think it does 23 or 24. So it is a bit above average damage. Average damage being 20. But yeah, make no mistake, top 15, very strong character. I just don't think he is top 10 anymore. He used to be. And again, yeah, death is hurts a lot, but again, launch punishable, very high risk. So after that, we have Bryan. Very unorthodox, very much does his own thing. Defined a lot by his, again, insane counter hit utility. Like half his move list counter hit launches. And it's built a lot around very smart mind games in like, you know, checks constantly with moves that have pretty decent frames, like back 1 and forward 3. These are counter hit launchers that are plus frames, right? So will you press afterwards or will you not press? And a lot of strings, you know, like 1-1, mid check that counter hit launchers, down to follow-up free that counter hit launches, back free, follow-up that counter hit knocks down into huge damage. It's a lot of like fake pressure. And like down for 2, his mid check, he doesn't have a generic down for 1. He does a down for 2, it's like what, -6 on block? And then after that, will he do his follow-up kick that counter hit launches? There's so much mind games in his moveset where you have to be really smart with it. But when you do get the payoff, it's like, yeah, they always get counter hit launched. And his combos hurt so fucking much if Bryan is strong. This really is a character where there's a huge difference between an intermediate Bryan and an expert Bryan. An expert Bryan makes this character next level. The damage is overtuned. Suddenly he's doing an unblockable 28 frame taunt at the wall that launches you. It's like the character is crazy. And they've kept buffing his hatchet, which is to the detriment of a character design in my opinion. But now he has a 50-50 that hurts like a motherfucker. Those hatchets, I mean, if he just does 2 of them, it's like you've taken so much damage. And now if he counter hits with the hatchet, he gets a new follow-up down 3-4, 2. It just hurts so much. And his moveset is very complete, very unique. Yeah, in the hands of a very... I'm not even going to use the word competent player. I'm going to say in the hands of a master Tekken player, this character really shines and feels like he belongs up here. But I think he is held back by consistency and a lack of generic poking, missing, not having a down for 1. And his jab is pretty weak. It has a very high hitbox, which is a problem. But he's more complete than he's ever been with the tuned hatchet and also the fixes. Well, fixes, again, I feel like they try to make every character very all-round, and I don't like it. He's lost identity with the buff of a hatchet. Used to rely more on homing. People would not be very afraid of his 50-50. The hatchet wasn't that scary before, but now it hits so much that you try to sidestep it, and then he clips you with his homing stuff instead. But they buffed his punishment a lot, giving him the super hard hitting while standing for 13 frame, the 2 hit. And they gave him standing 4 free for big damage for a 12 frame. Unnecessary buffing in my opinion, but yeah, he's stronger than he's been in a long time. And after that we have Bob, super all-round oppressive character, resembles these guys a lot. Very good reach, he's a large man, has a homing hell sweep, one of the best power crushes in the game. Very annoying strings, amazing punishment, now has a 15 frame launcher, didn't have that before. Yeah, what? Great damage. His sidestep 1+2 is crazy, so that's the sidestep. Safe mid that wall splat. Yeah, I don't know, it's like I don't even want to get into... I don't have to get into details, it's just one of the best like all-round toolkits in the game. And also sees some strength in that he's not used a lot these days. Yeah, a very, very strong character. And after that, I'm gonna talk about Kazuya, my main. Kazuya is very, very strong. He's not very good in the tournament format, but if you're deathmatching someone, so that it's like you're playing for sometimes hours, you know, someone's gonna get promoted, someone's gonna get demoted. He's now one of the best characters in the game. If you start getting a really good read on your opponent's defensive habits, Kazuya is unbelievably strong. Some of the best punishment in the game with 112, twin pistons, electric. But he is defined by his 50-50 and his Okisemi. So if you get the opponent to respect you, you can now apply a 50-50 that's very strong, right? The Hell Sweep knocks down into a very favorable position. Forward 3 is a -3 on block mid launcher. That's where you can screw. It's like does 1,000,000 damage. Damage is very high. Electric has been tuned in tracking and recovery. Super strong. Is still weak to sidestep left. Has very decent homing moves now though to deal with that. And again, electric tracking. Okisemi is crazy. You know how it is. He knocks you down and now the vortex starts. Oh, you don't want to stand up again to take another 50-50. God knows you don't. He can forward for you just to reset. Yeah, a very strong 14 frame counter it mid launcher and down for 2. It's a lot of good tools, but again, it is weak to sidestep left. Very much lacks poking and easy oppressive like offensive options. Takes a lot of risks. Most of his good tools have a 20 frame startup, and this is where he's very weak to for example highs, you know, that beat him out of that, like Magic Force, Steve back one. All of those tools, just jab checking Kazuya is a problem for him. But they've kept buffing like his high evading options, like down 1+2, for example. But yeah, he's a very strong character, very strong. And if you have strong knowledge on the cast, that punishment ability is really gonna shine. But very defined weaknesses. His down for 1 is 15 frames. Very defined weaknesses. So poking is some of the weakest in the game. And after that, we have Law, Martial Law. This is a character where you could put him really high on this list, like if you have the execution. So this is where you do while standing 4, 4-free, a lot of different moves, but can transition into DSS. So that's Dragon Sign Stance with execution. So this is hitting back, forward, forward. It's very hard to do consistently. There are a lot of good Law players out there. I think Low, High, and Double from Japan are the best Law players in the world. There's a really good one in Sweden where I live. Sly is very strong with Law. Drayton Rama, I think his name is, in Germany, is extremely strong with Law. Just Frame James, US, very good Law. So there are players who show us, you know, the power of a character, but there's so few of them, and there's just... The Double's been doing really well with him, though, in tournaments. But still, I feel like we don't get to see the character a lot. Oh god, I didn't mention Rip from the US. Really good with Law. We don't see him a lot. But it is a very complete character with a really strong magic forward. Forward 1+2 is a very strong mid counter at launcher that sets up a lot of his offense. His slide is great. Decent 50-50. Great homing tools, really great homing tools. But a bit lacking in damage, I have to say. The damage without wall is not good. The damage with wall is... I don't know why they nerfed his wall combo. He could have kept that, in my opinion, but they nerfed it, and now it's average damage, even though it's pretty high execution. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Law is overshadowed by characters who are just as all-round, just easier to use. And now the next character I'm gonna talk about is the Rasla King. I almost said Little Margin. The character is just so I don't know. God, what's the word? So he's so synonymous with Lil Majin to me. Even though we have a couple of other like really strong King players in Asia, like Puma in Korea, showing off a character. Very, very strong. So King and Armor King suffered going into Tekken 7 due to the new system. They made throw breaking so much easier. In Tag 2, every throw you ate, you had a 15 frame break window. In Tekken 7, they expanded that break window to 20 frames. And if that doesn't sound like a lot, 5 frames, but there's an enormous difference here, that leniency. And that immediately nerfed King and Armor King. But Jesus, did they compensate on King. They made so many changes to this character, like going from Tag 2 to Tekken 7. It's just incredible how much they tuned him and his tools. So you can almost play him. You can see Lil Majin play him legit like without throws, and he's just still very, very strong. Back one is a 12 frame counter hit launcher that has insane reach, recovers quite fast on whiff. A lot of people think like, but Armor King also has that 12 frame back one. Yeah, but his recovers much slower on whiff than King's. Great counter hit utility and that low. Forward neutral too, you know, super good. His shove. Forward neutral 1-2. Almost broken. If it's not like flat out broken, it's just so good. And his down for 2. Elbow. And you can I think Lil Majin hit confirms that. It's easier to confirm now at least. That was one of the latest patches. They made that easier to confirm. Into 1 million damage, you know, where Majin set up with the burning knuckle. Yeah, incredible setups. His throws are the best throw game by far. Marduk has a really good throws. Armor King has really good throws. King is undisputed #1. Does 1 million damage. Gets insane Okiseme. His chain throws are really strong. And here, you know, it's a 50-50 when he goes in for either the standing heel hold or the arm break. That's a 50-50. That's a 1 break or 2 break. You can only guess. You can't tell what he's doing. And both of those chain throw startups have incredibly strong mix-ups. He has many other chain throws, but those two are the ones that really shine. And Giant Swing is the best throw in the game. He has many other 1+2 command throws to mix that with. Shining Wizard. Yeah, and his ground throws. Some of the best Oki in the game. With his unblockable moonsault. The ground throws. People's elbow. Down 2, you know, jumping. Elbow drop. Very decent poking. Punishment hurts like hell. Yeah. Very all-round. Very strong. His forward 4 is a great homing tool. Yeah. Very, very strong character. King. And after this, I'm going to talk about Master Raven. This is a character that surprises me a lot. I actually picked her up. I'm so happy I did. There's a lot of characters I've ignored for the longest time. Like, for example, Master Raven. I even played Eliza a bit. Miguel, Asuka. Lei. You know, I've been playing these characters lately to get an idea of them. And I'm really happy I did. Master Raven has really grown on me. This is a character I used to just get... I would just feel sort of negative feelings towards because I felt I encounter her in rank and it's this really annoying knowledge check. She's so rare and she's very gimmicky and unique. Very unique moveset. Very unorthodox. But it would annoy me a lot facing her. But when I started playing her, and I gotta say, I really appreciate the character. Very unorthodox in her approach. Very technical in that she has a lot of launchers, a shit ton of launchers, but it's never the same combo. With a lot of these characters, you can get away with learning one combo and just spam that. But with her, it's really about, you know, learning an endless amount of combos depending on what launch you got. So it was also funny when I dropped her for like, a month, and then came back to her, and it was like I couldn't even play her because you gotta know all of those combos and stuff. But a lot of top players go like, oh, she's top 10. And they never give an explanation. They just say, she's top 10. Here's my tier list. And I would love to hear the explanation, because to me, she doesn't feel like top 10. You could definitely argue she's high tier, though. So where does she shine? Amazing keep out. Amazing damage. Some of the highest damage in the game. Depending on launcher, it's incredible the damage she does. And some of the best wall combo. One of the best wall combos in the game. Unbelievable damage and unbelievable Oki afterwards. Has an enormous amount of 50-50s. Has, you know, launching 50-50s. Launching mids, launching lows. Very tricky with her strings and back-turned options. Pretty strong generic tools, but I was not blown away with her poking. To me, it feels quite subpar, like her low pokes, her mid pokes. God, yes, what else do I want to say about Master Raven? This is where I also have to, humbly point out that I'm certainly no Master Raven expert. And it saddens me that I so rarely hear strong players discuss her and really get into detail on what makes her tick and what makes her so strong. But I feel that with what I've mentioned so far, it is motivated to put her high on the list. The sheer damage, the mix-ups, the uniqueness of her moveset, the keep out, and pretty strong generic tools. Standing free is a strong mid poke. Upward 4 is a strong knockdown mid poke where she can add an additional hit. Down 3 is a pretty good low poke. And she does have mix-up options from her... Oh god, I do have to mention her 10 frame, the black hole. So that's a new string she got in Season 4, I think. That's really, really strong. You do 1-1, and it's safe. I think that's high mid. And here she can add a third hit, and you can hit confirm this if a jab counter it. Blap, blap, another hit, and this knockdown wall splats into really high damage. It's a very strong move. And her Magic 4 is strong. But she does have to commit to a second hit. Yeah. Oh, she has a lot of really good stuff. And then we have Xiaoyu, who has some of the best Oki in the game. If not the best. You know, it's Marduk, King, Kazuya, Xiaoyu, incredible Okiseme, incredible flowchart setups. It's a bit like Yoshi, where Xiaoyu players and Yoshi players, they spend more time in practice mode labbing their own character than they do labbing other characters, because it's just constantly creating flowcharts of A to Z to B to H to just throw you off completely. Any knockdown she gets is devastating for the opponent, because here you don't know how you're going to recover from this grounded position, because she can tech trap you if you stay on the ground. She can trap you there. If she knocks you down at the wall, she can do almost infinites. You know, depending on the type of knockdown. That can be really hard to get out of. And she has... I mean, the real problem this character has, in my opinion, is just a lack of damage. She really has subpar damage. At the wall, it's okay, but when she launches you in the neutral, like away from the wall, it's just not good. I think it certainly must be below average. But strong pressure, some of the best panic tools in the game, defined by Art of Phoenix, a stance that almost renders her invincible, just goes under 99% of the opponent's move list, and from this stance she has absolutely disgusting options. And of course her evasiveness is not limited to Art of Phoenix. Has strong punishment, has a 14 frame launcher from standing. Is there anything else I want to say about this character? Sidestep 4 is a very strong low. Oh, right, her rage drive is one of the best in the game. Has to be mentioned. So from back turn, that's an unseeable low launcher. That is safe on block, I believe. Yeah, I don't get to see Xiaoyu very often. And that was a big buff. Back turned, down 3, I think it is, knockdown sweep into guaranteed follow-up. That was a buff she got not too long ago. Oh, and her down back 2, which is a safe low poke. Safe, strong low poke. It's pretty disgusting. Yeah, very strong character. Very strong character. And then we have Claudio, a character that hasn't seen a lot. He hasn't had the ability to shine a lot. It's been mostly watching Jopelix, Finnish Tekken player who has an unbelievable Claudio. And then we have a Shadow from the US, also has an unbelievable Claudio. Two really strong players. But other than that, we don't see him a lot. His defining trait is his starburst mechanic, where if he hits you with a certain attack, he transitions into starburst, where his hand glows light blue. And now he has access to a few enhanced moves and a couple of unique attacks. Quite basic character. Has a couple of really strong moves. In best hop kick in the game, I would say. Strong. God, what am I going to say about Claudio? Pretty weak poking. Doesn't have a generic down forward 1. Has a down forward 1 that has a follow-up. It's like a 15 frame twin piston that launches, that is launch punishable on block, but he doesn't have a generic down forward 1. Instead he uses a back 3, that's a knee, that's 13 frames, but it's not as advantageous as having a universal down forward 1, but that has a follow-up, a counter hit launcher, back 3-3. Again, a very strong hop kick. Has really good space control in I believe it's, back 1. That's almost a perfect attack. It's a mid knockdown homing move. It's a super long reach mid that does a chunk, knocks down, and is homing and wall splats. Very, very strong. This is a character that just revolves around a few attacks. And for low, he'll do a sidestep 4. That's very strong. While running 2 is a running attack that has insane plus frames on block. Very strong attack. Needs to be ducked. His down forward 3 can go into a high or a mid. This is actually hit confirmable. If he hits that down forward 3, a player with very fast reflexes can press 1 to hit confirm into a wall splat for insane damage. His starburst stuff is pretty strong. God, there isn't a lot to say about Claudio. He's a very, very basic character, but if the player is really sharp, you have a very strong basic toolkit. Very strong. But yeah, not the best poking. Due to that back 1 and down forward 3, he's unbelievably strong at the wall. Very, very strong. I think that's sort of a defining features of Claudio. Starburst adds damage. It adds the forward 1+2, 1+2, which is very strong. It adds down 2-2. That's the low starburst launcher, not a natural combo, reactable. But if you're smart with the starburst, you can get some crazy mix-ups and some enormous frames. Yeah, can really stress the opponent with his pressure. So I've been talking for 1 hour and 10 minutes, and I believe we are halfway through. So it's going to be a long video, but I feel that's good. I do want to give some thoughts on every character in the game. And I feel like I'm keeping pretty decent momentum here. So next up is Alisa. Alisa is a very strong character. She has some of the best movement in the game. She has some of the best poking in the game. Very decent reach there. Very strong frames. She has very strong, very complete move list. Very strong punishment. Good launchers. Strong mix-ups, chainsaw bullshit. But what I feel really holds her back is the damage. I don't feel the damage is there. And now I'm talking about if you've launched the opponent, the combo damage, but also the damage on the ground when you're chipping away at the opponent, poking. It really is chipping. It takes quite a while to chip someone down with Alisa. And it was sort of a shadow nerf, you know, the buff to the health bar going from 170 to 175. It hurts the poking-oriented characters, and Alisa, in my opinion, is one of the most poking-oriented in the game, together with Kazumi. So that hurt a bit, but she's still very, very strong. I might even want to put her higher here, but she's going to remain here for now. Should probably be higher than Claudio, but I don't want to change my initial thoughts. We will leave her here. But yes, she is very complete, very good, but lack of damage in my opinion. And I'm going to say pretty much the same things about Kazumi. Above average movement, very strong poking, very strong, but holy hell has she seen a lot of nerfs. Like going from season 1 to season 4, she's one of the most nerfed characters in the game by far. And she's been hurt where it matters the most, on her key tools. And this is a character defined by like 5 attacks. It's like jab, down forward 1, magic 4, down back 4, back 2, basically. And all of those moves, my god, have they been chopping away at them. I think down back 4 is the one most nerfed attack, actually, since Tekken 7 was released in arcades. And her down forward 1. Those moves have gone through, I don't know how many iterations. You wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 7 different iterations. Her down forward 1 in arcades would like legit have her, you press down forward 1, she dashes in a forward dash super far and just chops. really interesting when you think about it. But still, even with all of those nerfs, has some very good poking, some of the best. Was hurt by, again, the 175 life bar, a shadow nerf to poking characters. But they also went out of their way to nerf specifically wall damage. And Kazumi was a character where she didn't have a lot of damage up until the wall, like not very good in the neutral, but the combo damage at the wall was above average. So I feel that has hurt her a bit, that nerf to wall combo damage. It's hurt every character, but I feel like it hurts her more due to the lack of damage at when you're not at the wall. And then her hop kick is one of the worst in the game. I feel that hurts her. But other than that, yeah, the jab checks, 1-1, down back 4, down forward 1, that stuff remains like very solid. And her moveset is really good and varied. It's just that she's not the character she once was. And no wonder when you hurt pokers and you hurt the 5 moves that define her. Very solid, but truly a big fall from grace is Kazumi, in my opinion. And after that, I've put Eliza. And this is the final 2D where we talk about. It's the third 2D character. Like Akuma is very, very 2D. Geese is the one that resembles a Tekken character the most. So it has some similarities with Akuma, you know, where has a mid that will launch you, can mix that with a low that will launch you. Very high in execution. Like, you know, she goes down 3. She can go into super. Is the only 2D character that hasn't had her meter nerfed. So she gains meter very quickly. So she can be very spontaneous in how she uses the meter. So down 3 super, hard to do, but a good Eliza will do it 100% consistency. And that will launch you into a shit ton of damage. This alone is really strong. Her jump is really strong. Jump into dive kick. Like, you know, you try and approach her. Oh, jump back, dive kick free, counter it launch. Huge damage. Has invincibility, you know, with her EXDP. That alone is super strong. She has some of the best wall pressure in the game. Certain Elizas claim she has the best wall game in the game. You know, really good wall combo, and then the wall pressure is batshit crazy. Combo damage is really good. Pressure is good. Even has some decent generic tools. Back 1-2 is a really good string. But yeah, where she does a great punishment. She can also do jab into DP for huge damage, 10 frame. Punishment is super good. And of course can launch you at 10 frame. I believe she can do that, right? Jab super. But her frames are not the best, and her generic tools are not the best. I mean, if you try to compare her with like the generic tools of Geese, it's like miles apart. She is more of a 2D rule break character than Geese, and if you can maximize that, she is really solid. But there's a lot of execution involved, and if you're playing on a map without walls, it's going to hurt a lot. It's just like Akuma there. It's just that Akuma compensates way harder than Eliza. And arguably the most gimmicky with really weird mix-ups out of the 2Ds. But yeah, but make no mistake, a very solid character. So now I'll be talking about Hwoarang. Hwoarang is a strong, solid upper mid tier. Yeah, some of the craziest mix-up potential in the game. Super vast move list, raises one of his legs, either the left one or the right one, and now you're dealing with like 70 different options. Who knows what he's going to do next? Really keeps the opponent on their toes. But just has now like very solid options. His down for 2 is very strong as a keep out, or you know, just counter it utility. His back 3 is a very, very strong whiff punish launcher. 16 frame. Super long range. It's a great block punish as well on moves with big pushback, like Heihachi's forward for 2. Hwoarang can back 3 that shit. But as a whiff punish, I would say that move is one of the best in the game. Like, if not the best whiff punisher. I think Marduk's down for 1 is better, but yeah, it really is one of the best. You can see K-Wiz get enormous mileage out of it. Down 3-4, one of the most annoying lows in the game. Plus 17 on hit into bullshit mix-ups. Can't even punish him reliably afterwards due to the power crush follow-ups. Has some of the craziest frames on many of his attacks. Backlash is flat out broken, I would say. Certainly not in competitive tournament play, but it is overtuned. There's no reason for that to be as hard as it is to whiff punish. Should recover slower on whiff. Do remember it's +4 on block. Yeah. Super hard hitting, does 35 damage. Power crush launcher, +4 on block. Damage is high. Yeah, crazy pressure. Down for 1, now with a follow-up. Down for 1 free. Yeah. And strong generic tools. Yeah, Hwoarang is very strong. And he's 50-50. As soon as he connects that down 3-4, now you're dealing with either a mid launcher, right? Is back 3 from right flamingo. That's a chunky mid launcher that's only -10. And here you gotta take a guess after he's hit down 3-4. Or he does his hell sweep. Attracts a shit ton. Does big damage, knockdown. Like, eating Hwoarang's down 3-4 is not fun. Yeah, no, Hwoarang is a very solid character. And then we have Miguel, who I put in the upper mid, but I'm a little bit like, should he be here? But I'm gonna put him in the upper mid. Mostly due to Mr. Sephi Black. I don't know, is there anyone else you even want to mention when discussing this character? But Sephi Black always has a lot of success with the character. It almost feels like no matter where the character finds himself on a tier list, Miguel has received quality buffs and quality nerfs. Well, bad nerfs. It got really weird nerfs going from Season 2 to Season 3. They hurt Savage down back 3, and they hurt Savage down for 2. Savage down for 2 was overtuned. Savage down back 3 was not, in my opinion. But the quality stuff we've seen is making Savage 2 safe. And used to be -10, right? And then giving him the amazing 12 frame punish in 4-2-1. And also buffing his pressure and poking from Savage stance. They buffed to 1 option and back 1 option, I believe. So now the character has really chunky options from Savage. Great pressure. Oh, right, they nerfed his Magic 4 combo. That also hurt. But yeah, doesn't have a lot of damage in the neutral when he launches you. And that's going to mostly be from a hop kick. Struggles a lot. The first thing you gotta mention with Miguel is that he struggles with reach. So universal jab, universal down forward one, not very good in terms of reach. Is known to be a little bit of a T-Rex with the very, very tiny, puny arms. And then he has options with reach, like his Magic 4 or his forward 4 mid-check that can be mentioned, but struggles a lot with reach, feels overly honest, this character. Can feel a little bit sluggish. But yeah, very honest, and I just feel like there are characters that do what he does better. But he's a really cool character, and he's really worth checking out. I've played him quite a bit lately. It's a lot of fun, but I feel like you do struggle with the reach. And just the honesty of his pressure. I feel like he's easy to play around. And the next character I'm going to discuss is Shaheen. Very, very honest in his approach. He plays very basic fundamental Tekken. I never get to see this character. He's very rare. Low-High used to represent him a lot in tournaments, but when it completely fell off and Low-High started playing Steve, among other characters. But Shaheen has one of the best down for twos in the game. It's really good for keep out. He's got a great hop kick with good reach for whiff punish. He's got a 50-50 that's quite similar to Law's. You know, he has a slide with really good reach, good damage. He has an orbital he can mix that up with bad reach though. If he wants to take a risk, he can go while standing 2 for a very fast, safe mid launcher. That's very unsafe though. I think it's launch punishable. He has decent poking. He has a while standing 1, I believe it is, that counter hit gives a chunky knockdown follow up. What is the move he gets guaranteed after that? I think it's those dual 13 frame kicks, right? Free into big damage. He's got good combo damage, decent wall combo, not that hard hitting though. I think it's just decent. But yeah, this is where I have to stress that I never fight against Shaheen, and he's very rare to see in tournaments, so it's very hard to give an idea of where he is. But I think he struggles from being too honest. His low poking is not that good. I think it's mostly about, I think it's down 3 where he does sort of a stomp on their knee. I believe it's like neutral on hit, something like that. That doesn't do a ton of damage. But he has really good tools to play strong fundamental Tekken. But yeah, if someone wants to fill in with more stuff about Shaheen, I'd love to see that. And his Magic 4 is interesting. I think it's 4-1 high or 4-3 high mid. Interesting options there. But above average combo damage. And then we have Ganryu. Defining for Ganryu is incredible pressure. When he's in your face, it's hard to get anything by because his frames can be so oppressive, and his strings can be so oppressive. But here, this is counterplayed by just staying a bit away from Ganryu. There's really the safe space against Ganryu is almost just one backdash away, and now his key low, down forward 3, is going to whiff. And you really want his down forward 3 to whiff, because this low is +5 on hit, and it's only -12 on block. It's absolutely crazy. So if you can just back away a little bit from Ganryu, you're in a good space. But very oppressive. Doesn't have a 10 frame jab, which is interesting. Instead, he has like slower startup jabs that have string potential, follow-ups, can go into stances, have got oppressive frames on block. He does have a 10-frame headbutt though, that counter it knocks down into a shoulder charge for really big damage. So he doesn't have a 10-frame jab, but he has a 10-frame goddamn headbutt that leads into disgusting damage. His down for 2 is super strong because it launches crouchers as well, and it's very long reach. And it is minus 12 on paper, but it has follow-ups. So you don't really know if you can go for that punish or not. He has some of the craziest like gimmicks in the game, like 50-50 from stance that is very oppressive. It can do an unblockable that for some reason has like crazy evasiveness in its startup, and then just slams you into the wall. It's like a rage drive almost, and very strong gimmicks overall. I would say like knowledge checks where if you're unfamiliar with the matchup, he's gonna blow you up if you don't know those. If you don't have that knowledge. And this works certainly to his favor, considering he's the least popular character in the game. Out of 50 characters, or is it 51, he's at the very bottom of a pile. No character is played less than Ganryu. And now, Harada has said that the character in this game that does the best in ranked battle, has the best win-loss ratio online, is Ganryu. Right? He performs the best. So it tells you how complicated this game is and how important knowledge checks are in Tekken. Because a character in this game, it's almost like it's not exactly picking up a new language, but compared to most fighters, it really is like an encyclopedia. Sorry, what's the word? It's almost like taking a university course on the exam, because they have like 100 to 150 attacks depending on the character, and a lot of those moves have like follow-ups. Every single attack has multiple properties. Like, what's a normal hit? What is it on block? What does it do on counter hit? What does the tracking look like? Is it low, mid, or high? Is it a power crush? It's like, when you think about it, like just one matchup, one character in this game, it's so complicated. And then you have Ganryu, who's very tricky to fight, and he's at the lowest point in terms of priority in matchups to learn. So no wonder, you know, characters who are very unpopular usually do really well in terms of win-loss ratio. So Ganryu is certainly helped by that, and as I discussed, has some really cool tools, but struggles with reach. Really struggles with reach, Ganryu. So after that, I'm going to talk about the mid-tier. We're now at the mid-tier, so we're almost closing in on the end of this tier list. And now I will be discussing Gigas. And this is interesting. A character for a long time. For the longest time, we would put him over here. At the very bottom of the pile. Oh god. Oh, did I forget after a while to move my cursor with the character? I'm so sorry if I did. I got so lost in all of my explanations, but I hope I did. But Gigas is a very, very solid mid-tier these days. He's received a lot of quality buffs over time, and now a very competent Tekken player can get a ton of mileage out of him. And he performs really well in ranked battle, again due to the fact that most people have no clue what to do against him, but also because his basic tools are so strong. Like a very competent Tekken player using a character with a jab with that amount of reach, a down forward one with that amount of reach, a 15-frame mid-launcher like the down 2, again, hits so far away, and just any move you block, like be it -10 or to -14, you just 1-2 and it does a ton of damage. Knockdown into wall splat or wall splat. That 1-2 is unbelievably good. And it's so nice that it's almost like no matter the pushback of an attack, it's like Bryan's back 4, -10 with pushback. Or Feng Wei's up for 2 we talked about before, -10 with pushback. Gigas just punishes that shit. He doesn't care. He just reaches so far with his jab. This alone, incredible consistency and strength. And the long-range launcher in down 2. And then the charge-up mechanic is actually not bad. The back 2 charge-up. The forward 3-2 charge-up. The, what is it? While stunning 2-4 charge-up. That golem mix-up is strong. And then they gave him... He used to have really bad combos. They gave him pretty strong combos. He does like 70 reliably. God forbid he counter hits you with back 1+2 or down forward 4 1+2. That's 100 damage without the wall. 100 damage. And then has some interesting poking. Down back 2 is a very decent low. Down 3, decent. Full crouch down back 4, decent low. Has some interesting mix-ups and strings. But those are way more useful on people who feel uncertain on the matchup. Very interesting power crush. Down 3-4 where he roars. A great player who knows how to use this can do really, really interesting things with it. Or you can get launched quite easily by it. It's a very underrated power crush. Very strong. Hard hitting overall. But really shines with the basics, I feel. Is there anything else I want to mention about Gigas? His rage drive is not very strong. That has to be said. And his throw, you know, I wish he had more of a throw game. But that overkill throw will hit once in a while. And when it does, it just enormous amount of damage. Close to half-life if it hits the wall. And this is where Gigas players, rather than mix up between throws, will do very creative setups for overkill. Where it will just catch you off guard. That's the way they set it up. And a strong player will break that most of the time. But yeah, when it does hit, it hurts a ton. Yeah, I think that's what I want to say about Gigas. Very bad movement and very big hurt box. It might feel weird that I put him this high due to those weaknesses. But he's had tournament success. He's had very decent tournament success. So, lack of matchup knowledge, very easy to use, very strong basic tools, very strong. And after that, we have Negan. And yeah, I mean, mid-tier is rather interesting. And this is where you could throw these characters around quite a bit. You could really argue around many swaps here. So in this tier, I do want to stress that it's really... These characters are all so close. Negan also, I feel, quite a bit underrated. Has unbelievable reach due to his bat. On down for 2... like while stunning 2 is 15 frame, while stunning launching punish, it almost can't whiff. It just hits so far away. And I want to stress that down for 2, the reach of his 15 frame launcher. Very, very good. The reach on a lot of his attacks is really good. Very oppressive. So he is quite steppable on a lot of attacks, but he also has quite disgusting homing moves to make you afraid of stepping him. But incredibly oppressive with his strings and frames. And his go-to low, down back 4, very oppressive. It's like +3 on hit. It is -13 on block, but that's not bad at all. And when it does counter hit, it, you know, throws the opponent to the side, and we have to deal with a very annoying mix-up. He has a lot of unorthodox mix-ups, like two launching power crushes you always have to be afraid of, but not cool. That's -15. And the backlash. So that's intimidation stance overall is a very interesting stance and very oppressive. So you can go into it from manual. He can do 1-2 intimidation. And intimidation, he has that backlash launcher that's safe on block. He has the down 2 low. It's a very hard hitting low. It does a lot of damage. He has a standing 2 for insane frames on block. He has an unbreakable throw that is seeable, but does catch people off guard once in a while. He has a standing 3 mid check. He has a huge class 1 launcher in down for 2. He has a knee. I think it's standing 4. It's a knee-ish attack. He has an unblockable from intimidation that he can use to set up tech catches with in combos. Negan has a lot of interesting stuff, and I feel like a creative player can get great things out of him. And he has some of the most reliable combos in the game. Off-axis launches is almost no problem for him. Very high damage, very strong punishment, like 10 frame 1-4 or 1-2 intimidation. 1+2 is his 13 frame for hop kicks. It hurts a shit ton. Down for 2 has insane reach. Like his 12 frame while stunning punish, he does while stunning 1-2. I think it does like 35. And it's like +7 into intimidation. He's very underrated. It's a lot of crazy stuff. And a lot of his counter hitting hurts a lot. Upward 4 counter hit launcher. Down 2 where he slams with the bat. I mean, I think it's -9 on block, but it's got insane reach. And it does like what? 45? Something like that, almost 50. Multiple safe launchers. Forward 1+2, sidestep 2. That's a mid and high safe launchers with great reach. Very varied toolkit. You never really feel safe against him. Very strong character. Yeah, that was a lot of detail on Negan. Lei, also very underrated, can really control space with his haha step. Combine that with a very strong down for 2, forward for 3 for keep out. Can lie down on the ground for some bullshit mix-ups. Razor Rush is a super strong string with a gazillion built-in mix-ups. This character's overall mix-up the character. Has a hell sweep that can transition into a mini combo. The hell sweep high crushes is unseeable, has more reach than a Mishima hell sweep, and it's homing. Yeah, it's pretty good. Decent combos. Not the best though when it comes to damage, for sure. Absolutely disgusting 50-50s due to aforementioned hell sweep, but also tiger stance is the most notable 50-50. Both options 15 frame, so 15 frame mid launcher, 15 frame low launcher. Got the new snake. No, wait. God, well, what is the new string? God, it's been a while since I played him. You do 1-1 into snake, and when you do snake, oh right, 4-1, I believe it is. He also got this Hwoarang Leroy style low-high natural combo into +1,000,000, and then you gotta take the 50-50 mix-up. That was a huge buff for Lei. But yeah, very oppressive mix-ups, strong neutral due to haha step, and strong whiff punish. In my opinion, very underrated. Very underrated character. But that's going to be it for Lei. And now we're going to talk about Dragunov. And this is another fall from grace character. In that season 1, he was seen as one of the absolute best. And then he's sort of come down. He's been nerfed a lot. Most notably his while running 2. So this is one of his key attacks. If not like #1 key attack. Used to be at least. That one has been nerfed multiple times. And they just keep removing tracking on it. To where now it used to be really hard to step. And now it's like very trivial to step. It's a really big problem for Dragunov. Really big problem. And stepping overall remains a problem in that people can like step duck him due to being afraid of forward 3. His high homing, that hurts quite a bit. Or his down 2, which is a homing attack, but it's a low. And they gave him in season 4 to compensate a little bit. 22 frame startup mid homing. That does not counter it launch or give anything interesting really. It's too slow. So, and there's also been, he's been hurt by the power creep. It's like he's been nerfed while everyone else just keeps getting buffed, right? You have these, suddenly you have characters like Kuni, Leroy, Lidia, Fahkumram, Marduk. All these guys join, and Zafina, I mean, all of those characters join, and suddenly it's like, well, oh, Doom, nice. Suddenly Dragunov doesn't seem very godlike. Where you used to really shine. And then in terms of combos, it's interesting to note that Dragunov has really great wall travel and has decent damage in the neutral when he launches someone, but very, very subpar wall combo damage. Some of the weakest in the game, if not like downright the weakest. I only think Eddy used to be worse. Used to be, they gave Eddy a wall combo. But even there's such a power creep because they've given everyone, starting from like season 3, they give everyone crazy wall travel. So Dragunov in terms of combos, he really used to shine way more. And again, he really used to shine way more in terms of like his general strength. They've added so many crazy characters, power creep, while running 2 is kind of fucked up. And then he's a very complete character, and he has a really good throw game. That certainly helps. But there's a lack of like counter hit utility. While running 2, great counter hit, but if everyone's stepping that now, it just doesn't have these fast, great like 15 frame counter hit launchers that every other character seems to have. And struggles from being quite honest. Relies on pretty simple mix-ups. A great player will make him look strong. But yeah, I think he has been hurt quite a bit. But I do want to stress yet again that this is in no... all of these characters are just clumped together, where I'm not ranking them here in terms of strength. I thought I did before, but the more I think about it, like all of these characters, Dragunov could easily be the best out of these characters. He really does, or you could put him in upper mid tier. It's very hard here to categorize these characters properly, in my opinion, because it's just so close. Or it's not close, it's these characters, right? These do feel quite a bit stronger than the rest. Armor King has seen a lot of quality buffs. Again, nerfed due to the new system where throws are way easier to break. Very strong whiff punish. If you have strong movement, he's good. He's got great reach, but not a very oppressive character. Doesn't really have the frames. Is constantly almost in a state of neutral where you got to be on your toes constantly. There's no lazy play at all with Armor King. Like, you always have to be super sharp. And for that reason alone, I don't see why anyone would want to play him in a tournament. And also there's execution there, certainly, with dark uppers, giant swings, wave dashing. Not as strong as King, for sure. Some nice buffs to down for 2, and forward for neutral 2 is finally not launch punishable. It's not now -14. Should have been like that from season 2. Does hit hard, has above average combo damage. His wall combo now also hits very hard with potential, good follow-up potential, but down 2 for free. Some of the best throws in the game, but too honest. Struggles against almost struggles against people who like to duck from a distance. Like, ducking from a distance is quite strong versus Armor King. Yeah, that's strong. Backing away a little bit and ducking, and sidestep into duck is strong as well, I feel, versus Armor King. And a bit sluggish on a lot of attacks. But yeah, decent poking or strong poking with jab, down for 1, down 4. But yeah, very honest, very technical, constantly on your toes. Yeah, he's a mid tier in my opinion. And then we have Ana. Ana is a tornado of damage and unseeable launchers. So mid unseeable launcher, low unseeable launcher. It's literally take a guess or try to sidewalk her towards the left, basically, as you would against Kazuya. But most of the time you're just taking a guess and you're getting launched. The trade-off for Ana is that she is unbelievably unsafe. Like, her frames are super bad. It's basically either I launch you or I get launched. And a really good demonstration of this is like her almost go to low poke, down forward 4. Hey! Very fast low kick. That's -15. It's launch punishable. Like, Ana just can't stay safe to save her life. Like, it's so unsafe. But oppressive. Some decent strings. Is it sidestep 3 where she does that heel drop? It's good. There's a lot of pretty crazy mix-ups. But again, it's just so unsafe. But very high damage. Very high damage. Yeah, I think that defines Ana. And they did give her, just like Bob, they gave her... She also used to be one of these characters that can't launch standing 15 frame. Her down for 2 used to be 16, and they made it 15. So that was a big buff. I think the only characters now that don't launch standing 15 is Zafina, who remains at 16, her down for 2, and Master Raven. Maybe I'm missing someone else. Someone obvious. I mean, Geese needs meter to do it. That was Ana, basically. And then we have Josie. Josie seems like a very solid character, but I never ever get any information on. I just never see anyone play this character. And it's basically Bruce in Tekken 7 with a gender swap. Doesn't have very decent lows in my opinion, and is countered by people really knowing the matchup well and people being very patient. If people don't press buttons, I feel Josie struggles a lot. But has some strong generic tools, like most characters. Is very oppressive. But again, like if you're going up against someone who's patient, it does not seem very strong. She really needs the counter hits to get going, to get big payoffs. So yeah, I don't know, just, yeah, doesn't seem very strong to me. And then we have Asuka, who famously doesn't have a 10 frame punish. That's a big deal in this game. Has extremely strong defensive tools. People have to be very, very wary of how you approach Asuka. But if they know how to do that, yeah, she has some pretty good options in down back free, really good low. Forward free is an excellent mid. She has a pretty disgusting 50-50 and 1+2 safe mid launcher, down 1+2 knockdown low that gives a guaranteed forward 2. Both of those options, however, have very limited reach. She does have a magic 4. She has really strong counter hits in down forward 2, up forward 3. She has some really strong tech traps. She's got decent combo damage. All combo is not very good though. Rage drive is good. Rage damage is very high. She has a crazy power crush in forward 1+2. That's really good. Overall, counter hit utility is strong, and from full crouch as well, like full crouch down for 2, full crouch while standing 1+2. There are a lot of really strong options, and I feel maybe some people would put her higher, but I just never see her really represented in tournaments. I mean, it's Fergus and it's God, what's his name? The Korean player that plays Asuka. I don't remember, but he's got a really solid Asuka. You never really get to see her. Oh, sidestep 4 is a very strong move. Sidestep 2 is a very strong move. There's a lot of good stuff there. But yeah, garbage jab, no 10 frame punish. Yeah, down forward 1 doesn't seem very strong to me. I feel like for her to really shine, it's like the opponent has to play into her playstyle a bit too much. So if an opponent is very smart and aware, I feel like she's not very effective. My opinion. Noctis. Very solid mid-tier. Very easy to use. Has this, again, modern, like a bit like Katarina and Gigas and Noctis. Has a crazy amount of reach, making him very reliable. Like it's his down for 2 is the longest range 15 frame launcher in the game. So any move that's -15, it gets launched by that. Or your opponent whiffs an attack from far away, he's launched by down for 2. So there's a great reliability and an insane amount of reach on a lot of tools. And has some good generic tools like forward 1+2, -9 on block. So it's a safe counter hit mid launcher. Sidestep 2 is a really good mid check. It knocks down on counter hit for a guaranteed follow up. It's like neutral on block, I think. And he has up forward 1. It's a 13 frame safe on block counter hit launcher. It's really good. He struggles in terms of jab and down forward 1. He's got pretty subpar reach, in my opinion. But his down forward 1 is strong, and it beats highs a lot of the time. Jabs. It will beat a lot of jabs. Decent lows, but not the best. Strong combos. Pretty decent 50-50s with his roll into slide or roll into power crush. Pretty good poking in down back 1, 1+2. Down forward 4 into string. Has an orbital. While running 1+2 is +11 on block mid launcher, but tracks more than it should. Projectile in forward 2. That's really nice to have. Good low poke. Full crouch down forward 2 is really good. But yes, struggles sometimes with reach. His 2-2 mix-ups are strong. 2-2-4-2 or 2-2-2-2 or 2-2 on its own. Pretty strong mix-ups. Can be really solid. Like in the hands of a really competent player, like Noctis really shines, in my opinion. But fairly, in the end, fairly clunky lows. And I gotta say, like, overall, feels a bit clunky to play. And is he even quite weak to people stepping him? You have forward 1+2 and up forward 4 to try and shut that down. I don't know, maybe I'm underestimating Noctis a bit, but I might be underestimating him a bit. But no, he feels pretty clunky. He feels pretty clunky. And then Nina, a character a bit like Heihachi in insanely technical, but I'm looking at the payoff and I'm like, is it worth it? That amount of work, and what is the trade-off? Very hard to surprise people with, is as legacy as it gets. Relies a lot on pressure that in competitive play people are going to be very, very familiar with. Overall, very all-round character, has problems with reach, it seems to me. Like down for 2 and while stunning 2 to me seem very lackluster. But I think the amount of technical skill that goes into it, I can't stress this enough, how you don't get enough payoff, I think. But can be very solid in the hands of an expert player. But is it going to be worth it in the end, is my question. But another character where I have to stress that I see her so rarely. So rarely. But has the potential to be extremely oppressive. Right, but I think I'm gonna leave it there. Yeah. Jack. This character is insanely honest. To me, there's not, I know a lot of people disagree, but to me, there's like no bullshit at all with Jack. He'll try and chip away with lows. He'll try and space you out with a backdash and whiff punish you with down forward 2. He'll try and check you with a mid, jackhammer, forward 1. And he'll try some other basic poking. He'll try and counter hit you with a big mid and punish you. And he'll utilize a strong throw game to test your throw breaks. And that's about it. That is Jack. Feels painfully honest to play in a game full of, you know, quite a bit of overtuned characters. Way too legacy. If you're a genius like Anakin, you're gonna make him look god tier. But yeah, in my opinion, he certainly isn't. As an above average low poke in full crouch down back 1, that does get smoked by any move that beats lows. But this is where you can try and jab check opponents to try and float them out of jumping attacks. But still, you know, that's a problem playing Jack when people start throwing, when every character in the game suddenly has an orbital. And his jackhammer has gone through various iterations, but remains a solid mid. It's a hard follow-up though with the blue spark, what's it called? Gigaton uppercut. And his damage is weak. Again, this is also a character a bit like Dragunov, where they were very popular in Season 1, but then they've really felt this power creep. His combos feel like they belong in like a different Tekken game, like Tekken 6. Everyone is doing such crazy combos now, and Jack is so far behind in damage and in wall travel. The wall combo does do a chunk though. And he has good wall pressure. He really has good tools there. Really good tools. But overall, painfully honest. Doesn't have a lot of spammable stuff. Has a weak sidestep. Has a huge hurt box where everyone does insane combos on him. Short legs though, but you know, if they take him to the wall, it's like, wow, it hurts. So yeah, Jack is just not going to end up very high on this list. Just super basic in his approach as well. There's just no bullshit to throw out and try and stress people. Heihachi, seen a lot of buffs to his counter utility. I mean, dear lord, have I tried to buff him? Like, make the hell sweep homing, increase the frames on the first hell sweep hit, make it +8, make the second hell sweep safe. Back 4 is now counter hit launcher, jab has more range, down forward 1 has more range. Back 3-2, that was a new move he got. They gave him a launcher, a while standing launcher, while standing free 1+2. They've really tried to buff this guy, but he still remains, in my opinion, very weak. And if you want to win, like, my god, not worth it at all. I mean, this is a character loyalist character, right? But even JDCR, who seems very loyal to his guys, you know, he doesn't play Heihachi anymore. And no wonder, in terms of execution to payoff, it doesn't get lower than Heihachi. In terms of difficulty, he's like up here. He's top 3. And he's still easier now. He used to be the hardest in the game in terms of execution. You know, before he got that easy mode while standing launcher, you had to crouch cancel electric. And you would have to crouch cancel electric into forward 2 free. Yeah, the execution demands on him are ridiculous, and the payoff is far from worth it. People who play Heihachi do it because they love the charismatic iron old man, and I love him. He's so fun to play. But when you play against really strong opponents who know not to press needlessly and know that, how do you beat Heihachi? No, standing guard or sidewalk left. Can't really scare you. You know, in terms of a homing, you can hope to catch them with an electric, a dash electric or forward 4-2, but that gets stepped also. And his homing move, like what? You don't scare people with a back 4. That's only scary if it counters, but people will know not to press needlessly. And the character doesn't have any lows, pretty much. And unfortunately, doesn't have a complete throw game. On paper, he does have a 1 break, a 2 break, and a 1+2 break. But the 1 break, Broken Toy, one of the coolest throws in the game, by far, but that has a unique animation. He raises his arm, so people can very easily just press 1 on that one. And the 2 throw does what? 20 damage? Leaves them in standing with some plus frames? It's just not very strong. And his combo damage is good, but his combos are quite unreliable. From as soon as you get launches from the side, relies a shit ton on electric. Yeah, Heihachi is just not a very strong character at all, in my opinion. And after that, I love it. We have his son from Sweden, Lars Alexanderson, with correct pronunciation there. Lars is that's a character you could certainly place higher here. He has arguably the best combos in the game. He has infinite wall travel. His wall combo does, is it 26 or 27 damage? Hits so hard. Like, the combos are amazing. The launchers are the problem. To do those combos, you need to launch your opponent. And his good launchers are locked behind stances, which is always a problem. So that's either what, dynamic entry or silent entry, I think they're called. From standing, the neutral, the orbital is just not very strong. It's very slow. He has a 14 frame launcher that's launch punishable. So this is used to punish people. But it's really good defensively. And like overall, his punishment is strong. But yeah, there's just a lack of launchers. His lows are very subpar. They're very punishable. He's overall very weak to sidestepping, sidestep right. His movement is below average. If you actually look at him move in practice mode, you can experiment. You can do a bit of side walking, backdashing, and you'll notice that like visibly it's sluggish. It's like he's walking through mud. His movement is not very strong, and like his poking is not very strong. But really good players. Like LMG Mob from Russia can make him look really cool because they are very creative with how they approach his stances, his okizeme, and his stance mix-ups. So you can really get some cool stuff going. And again, like if you do get that launch, my god, you will always hit the wall and one of the strongest wall combos in the game, and that's gonna really count for something. The new Rage Drive was cute as well, I think, the low. Knockdown, you know, into follow-up. And his defensive stuff is strong. And he has a lot of crushing and a lot of attacks, and that's nice. Back 4 damage buff is nice, but there's a big lack of, you know, a 15 frame-ish counter hit, safe counter hit launcher. That would have gone... a long way with Lars, but we don't have that. So Lars is a mid tier, used to be a low tier. And next up we have Leo, who is a very all-round character that has seen a lot of power creep. Used to be very strong in season 1 due to back 1 being a counter hit launcher. It is not anymore. Suffers from being very linear. Has a homing hell sweep though, but you can mix with down for 3, which I personally myself find to be a really nice homing mid that knocks down on wall splats. But a lot of attacks are surprisingly linear, and the combo damage and combo options are, in my opinion, very weak. My god, the power creep this character has seen here. Wall combo is nothing special at all. Is it average? I think it's average. And moveset overall, I don't know, leaves quite a bit to be desired. Down for 1 is weak. Has a nice down for 2 with a lot of reach, but it's minus 12. Very, very low in popularity, which could help people being unfamiliar with the character. But I gotta say, the lack of tracking is probably the biggest problem. And then we have the same character here. We have Kuma and Panda, a character we would often see in low tier. I guess you could argue they are low tier, but I think rank choose success and seeing Arslan Ash play the character successfully lends me to believe the character is stronger than one thinks. But here I have to say that I never ever run into Kuma and Panda. This is bottom 3 characters in popularity. So it's basically once every 6 months, if I'm lucky. And I'm not kidding when I say that. It has to be understood that like the top 20 characters in this game are played way more than every other character. And when you're down to like the bottom 5 characters in popularity, it's like, wow. It's like, well, every Christmas you get to play against them. So Kuma and Panda has some very interesting gimmicks and shenanigans, completely unique hitboxes where it's hard to do lows on them, wall combos completely changed, can throw people off tremendously due to lack of knowledge and just knowledge checking. Crazy reach on a lot of attacks, like 15 frame launcher, down for 2-1, generic poke, down back 2, crazy reach. Damage can be really high. But yeah, overall seems sluggish, extremely punishable. If people know how to maximize damage on those hurt boxes, it hurts like crazy. But yes, these are characters where my knowledge is, yeah, not insane, or not far from complete, is what I'm gonna say. And now we are at the low tier, and we are at the final 5 characters. And Lucky Chloe is going to be the first one I talk about. Oh God, where has this character had some success? I mean, Kaiser, obviously, we saw not too long ago. He did really well with the character, but this felt... I mean, Kaiser is an amazing player, very creative with her, right? And had insane placing of her backswing blow, and just constantly forced a 50-50 with his strong execution of while running, doing her running double hell sweep, right? Or while running free. Great player, but I think that was also people not taking the character very seriously and being caught off guard by the character, but also his playstyle, obviously. But on paper, she does not seem very strong. Bad reach, quite bad frames, seems very gimmicky. Has a back 4 mid counter hit launcher, has a sidestep 4 counter hit launcher. Those seem decent. Damage is extremely high if you get hit by the Cali roll stuff, or if you make like really big mistakes. Oh, I love this one. But she doesn't seem to have very good poking or tools in general. Seems very gimmicky to me. And then we have Lili. Could argue mid-tier. Some of the best movement in the game. But quite a lot of, I don't know, lackluster options. She's very steppable. Down forward free, down free. Has a long reach hop kick. Suffers from being very legacy. I don't know. Feel like everyone knows the matchup. Gets punished hard. Chunky lows are quite punishable. Has really good combos though. Really good damage. And the buff. The forward 4 buff was really good. Long reach counter it mid launcher. Yeah, maybe she is mid tier, but the general lack of presence, both in the community and in tournaments, leads me to believe she's not very high. But if it's one of these characters you could put higher, I believe it's Lili for sure. Yoshimitsu, the god of the gimmicks and knowledge checks. If you don't know this matchup, he'll triple perfect you basically, which is absolute bullshit. Okiseme mix-ups, unblockables. It's fascinating. You know how a lot of people get annoyed at these guys for breaking the rules of Tekken? Well, you've always had Yoshimitsu do the same. It's like, oh, you think you can pressure me? 6-frame launcher, flash. Unblockables everywhere. A track and tech catch and extremely strong knowledge checks and gimmicks and flowcharts. But if we remove all of that, and we have someone who will bait, you know, the flash, wait it out and launch Yoshi for doing that flash. What you have left is a toolkit like full of subpar poking and generic tools. And bad frames. Yoshi is not a strong character. And he's also the character that has the worst win-loss ratio out of all characters in Tekken 7. Yoshi players are those who perform the worst. But yeah, geniuses like iMusician can make him look really strong. And now we are at Katarina. And Katarina is a character with a lot of like fake 50-50s with extremely long reach, long legs. She looks really strong when you're like a beginner or even intermediate. But in high level, on good connections, people will react to those very chunky lows that knock you down. Many of those are also very weak to stepping. Her generic tools are not very strong. Her poking is weak. The low pokes are not good. Her generic pokes, yeah, not very strong. Combos are pretty good, pretty hard hitting. Yeah, they hit hard. But the launchers don't strike me as very strong. Her magic 4 shines the most. But if she does commits to 4-4-4, that's -10. Her hop kick is interesting, but very easily punishable. I don't know. She seems like, yeah, there is ease of use, right? But I don't know. She just seems so bare bones. I don't know if it's just me, but she seems so bare bones to me. Almost incomplete as a character. It's almost like there are a lot of tools missing. But yeah, can look extremely oppressive if you're unfamiliar with the matchup. And now the final character, we have the iconic capoeira master Eddy Gordo, and I consider him to be the weakest character in the game. This is due to him constantly having commit to super high risk gameplay. Basically, to get anything going, he's gonna do usually strings or setups into the relax stance, negativa, I think it's called, into 50-50s or either 50-50s that knock down or 50-50s that launch. But in general, it just doesn't seem to be in his favor. Like, he almost gets hit harder if it's blocked, if it's countered, than it will give him. And he is sluggish, he lacks frames, he has a very strong backdash, but he doesn't have a sidestep or sidewalk, like, at all. He legit can't sidewalk. And that's gonna, against certain characters in this game, like, you know, you're facing Kazuya, well, you're not gonna have a fun time. It used to not have, it doesn't have very good damage, used to not have a wall combo, has one now, and it's decent. Yeah, and his poking is not good. Yeah, and again, like Eddy, if you don't know the matchup, he seems like an unbeatable tornado of death, right? But playing him in competitive play, like, wow. And how punished he gets on a lot of his moves and setups. So yeah, and it's quite a bit of work learning Eddy. You know, it can be a bit complicated learning him. So yeah, I feel like he is arguably the weakest character in the game. So that's 2 hours and 23 minutes, and that is my tier list for the game. And I do want to stress that it's very close, and a lot of these placements, you could have characters jump up and down and move them around on their own bracket. But in general, I believe this to be an accurate display of my take on the game. And objectively, I don't think it's too far away from what is the reality. But certainly, my biases and my lack of knowledge on a lot of areas have influenced this list a shit ton. But I hope you enjoyed my commentary. I really tried to keep it as concise as I could, but still, you know, say at least a couple of things about every character, because I can't stand myself when content creators or players make tier lists and they barely say anything. I don't know how many content creators I've seen make tier lists and they go to Jin and they say, oh, this character can do anything, he's super strong, his combos hit hard. And Leroy is blah blah, and I'm like, what exactly is that supposed to tell me? Like, you didn't tell me anything. So I'm really tired of that. So yeah, my throat is a bit sore now. I've been talking a lot, but I really hope you got some useful information out of this. And I apologize again on certain characters. I just can't get into details, or, you know, there's just a lack of knowledge there. It's a very complicated game. But I'm very happy with this list and this presentation. I hope you, really hope you enjoyed this again, and I hope some kind soul out there can make a timestamps for all of the characters. I'd love that. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.